Hey everyone, thanks for joining and inviting me for uh, the SAS guest speaker series. I'm really honored to be here and glad to see all of you also join. And I'll try to do my best to give an insight on what I do, what my background is, and also, try to answer all of your questions as best as I can. So let me share my screen. I'll just Oh, actually, I think can can I be enabled to share my
You're not
screen?
allowed to? Wait, hold on.
Yeah, looks like, yeah.
Okay, now you are. Are you allowed to?
Yeah, I can now share my screen.
Okay.
Okay, so basically as a background, I majored in computer science, and my current work involves QA automation. I'm not sure if everybody is aware of what QA is. It's quality assurance. So basically, what my role involves is testing of software, and I use software to test software. So that's in nutshell. So I just have listed out a brief agenda, slight history about myself, what I studied and my education, what I did in my past life, the current work that I do, and just some interest and hobbies. So I was born in India. I attended schools all across India. My dad was in the Indian Army, so he used to get posted to different locations every 2 years. So I did move along with him during my younger days in school. But finally, ninth grade onwards, I was in a military school in boarding, and studied and graduated from military school. And thereafter, I served in the Indian Army for 8.5 years after joining the military academy. And at some point, I did want to change my career based on some change of interests. So I changed into computer science. I came to this country, and here I am right now. So that's a brief history of myself. Um Military schooling from ninth grade, I studied in military school Bangalore. So that's the motto here. MS is military school. The earlier school, it was actually built um, by Britishers when they were ruling India. So they used to call it King George Royal Indian Military College. That's why it is KGRIMC. And thereafter, I did my undergrad in science. This is general science from Pune, India, and that was in an academy called National Defense Academy. You can see this picture here. This is from that academy. This is where I studied. I did my bachelor's undergrad. This building is called Sudan Block. It is a very famous building, a landmark of the academy. Was donated by the country of Sudan to India. The funds were donated, and this is the motto of the National Defense Academy. And after completing the undergrad, we graduated into the Indian Army. Served about 8.5 years, and then I came to this country, did an undergrad in computer science at San Jose State, and again masters in computer science thereafter in San Jose State as well. Prior endeavors, like I mentioned, I served in the Indian Army. I was in the Corps of Artillery. So these are the few exploits I had. If you see this weapon here, it's called a 130 millimeter catapult. It's a tank-based 130 millimeter gun. That was the mainstay of our regiment. I used to do exercises in the desert. It used to look something like this tank over here with a lot of sand, lot of heat. At some point in the heat, on top of the tank, if you would just break open an egg, it would fry into an omelette. It used to be so hot. And this is again some pictures with my course mates doing some training. Um, then I also worked in missiles. If you see some pictures here on the right, this is surface to surface missile. The launch, we used to do a launch as well. And this is on the top right. You can see me here in the Republic Day parade in India. I just found this picture. It's quite funny actually today when I was trying to look. I Googled it up, And I found this picture, and it's actually me in the picture, and somebody is selling these pictures for $500 a piece. That was really strange. So I also worked in Kashmir. If people are aware, it is up high in the mountains. It used to look something like this in the bottom. So that's my experience in the Indian Army. I left after 8.5 years, and then currently I did, like I mentioned, undergrad and grad and masters in computer science, in software QA automation. Initially, I worked using these particular languages like Java, C, C++, but eventually in automation we use TCL is a scripting language, but that's slightly old. Used Perl as well. That's also a scripting language. But currently, we do mostly work on Python. And for UI automation, UI is testing of UI applications. We use Selenium and Playwright. Those are slightly different, but via Python. So that is the actual automation part, that the tools we use, the languages we use. But the actual domain is networking, where the companies that I worked for are networking companies like Cisco, HPE, Palo Alto Networks, where we do routing switching. Routing switching is the entire internet, if you see, is built on that. So that is the domain. And for having all of these networks working, we also need network security, where the data security is involved. So currently in this role, we work with both networks and network security. So here I am. I've been working in this role, in this industry for almost 20 years now. And it's great. Every day we learn something, even now, as of today. So learning never stops. So that is the motto of my life. So that's all I had as far as my previous experience and current experience. We can open up to questions if you have any. Then we can add more information based on what kind of questions we get. So please go ahead.
Okay, so I have a few questions already that were sent to me beforehand. So the first
Sure.
one was, how did you become a computer scientist and what was your journey like as an immigrant?
Sure, great. Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, if you see, I showed some experience with Prithvi missiles. Let me go back to that slide right here. So these systems are, mostly computerized, and they were all high tech, even at the time that I was assigned to these. So we did need to learn quite a bit of programming, using software, testing software, because we needed to make sure all the systems are good. So that's where I initially started working in computer science. So we were required to take courses, we were required to learn C programming language. That's where we started with. And all the test systems, launch control mechanisms, all of it is software. So I really enjoyed doing that. It's something that I wanted to continue, as a profession. So that was my main motivation. So after finishing the tenure there, I I moved in and learned more. Did my degree, undergrad and masters, and that's where I am. So it was the journey to come in as an immigrant and study at the same time was quite challenging. It's difficult because you have a change in career, moreover, and then halfway through your life when you're already well settled in a different career. So it was a lot of learning, both ways, technically as well as being in a new place. So it was challenging. I remember the days we used to get up early, and I used to catch a bus all the way from Fremont down to San Jose State, and had to literally run to classes on and off, and then study in the lab, study in the library. Was pretty challenging, but I think hard work really helped, because you work hard, you get the good guidance, and I actually graduated summa cum laude in my undergrad, and that's the reason why I got my first job as well. And to be honest, at that time, I don't know how many of you heard about the dot-com bust that happened in the 2000s. So it was very hard to find a job. But luckily with the hard work that I was coached and guided, and could manage to get a job as soon as I got done with my undergrad. And the master's degree I pursued while I was working, and that was very challenging as well. It was full-time work with almost full-time load of coursework, so it was really challenging. Um, but it's good. Hard work always pays, I believe. You need to be smart as well. But that helped me build my foundation in computer science and in my job.
That's great. Thank you for your response. Do you think the job market is going to get any better in the next few years for people wanting to come into this field?
Yeah, I do. So there is a lot of hype about AI. So people do feel that AI is going to come in and take over all the software jobs, but that is not the case. In the last couple years, I have been actually trying to use AI into our daily roles, and I see that though it has benefits, but it does not have a capability of taking over everything. So what we do now is, even though it gives us some ways and means of making things faster, the work doesn't slow down. The reason is because now we have AI, the expectations become higher, and you end up being required to do more, right? But you still need to do it, right? So there are still a lot of challenges in AI. I don't think it is going to get into a state where jobs are going to go down because of AI, at least in the next few years. So it definitely doesn't look like that, because AI still has a long ways to go. So if you actually, you all must have seen AI as the first thing while you're looking out for your careers. But during my career of about 20 plus years, I have seen a lot of these things come and go. So they do have their, flash in the pan kind of a thing. But in the end, it doesn't really stick. So I don't think AI is going to come in that big a way. So if you all or have heard about AI and are worried, I don't think you need to worry, because we still need the person behind the machine to do the work, right? So that is not going to go away. And the second thing is, from jobs point of view, technology, STEM, computer science, software is always there to stay. They might be, if there is economy issues, minor ups and downs, but it is not going to go away. There is always a high demand for software engineers, or even anybody to do with software. So that is something else I wanted to clarify today. I think, when you look at computer science or software engineering, one tends to think of coding, coding, and coding, but that's not the case. You do coding, but you also do a lot of other things. And there are also a lot of different roles in software engineering and computer science. Like the one I mentioned that I do is QA automation. Similarly, there are many, many other roles. There is manual QA testing, there is network engineer, there is, a systems testing, there is customer support engineer, there is multiple different roles, and not everybody codes, right? A software developer, their role is coding. Most of the day they will code, but everybody who does computer science or software engineering does not become software developers, right? Maybe about 50% of them do, but there is a big chunk of roles that are associated to delivering a computer's science or software product, which does not need that much of coding, right? So don't get too hung up about coding day in and day out. So you need to keep your minds open to a lot of other roles that are associated to this field as well.
All right, thank you for your response. How long did
Yeah.
it take to learn how to code? And also, we got mentioned that people love the slides and they're really nice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I just barely put them together this morning, half an hour or so. But thanks for the feedback. But yeah, so how long does it take to learn to code? So it depends. So basically, when some people have the flavor for it, right? Some people have a passion for it. Some people have a lot of interest for it. So honestly, if you have that interest and the passion, you already must have learned something by now, right? So it's not too difficult. It's basically lot of it is logic. So now I'll come back to what you are learning at school. So when you learn math, when you're trying to solve problems, uh, you know, uh, it's not that when you come as a computer scientist or as a software engineer, you have to do math day in and day out, calculus A, B, B, C, whatever. No, you don't have to. You have to apply some of what you learn in this role. But what you do in school is problem solving. When you're doing math, you're training your brain how to solve problems. So what you do in this role is solve problems, right? So in a software job, like in my role, I have a problem where I have to test something. So I have to apply my brain to think, hey, how should I test this? How best should I cover this testing so that there are no gaps or there is no issues, or there is, some code that is not left untouched. So I have to use my mind in an analytical way and in a way which enables comprehensive testing of it, for which I have to design additional software on top of it, right? So what you're doing while doing all this complex math is training your brain in order to solve problems. And here you don't do that kind of math, but you use what you learned. You use how you trained yourself to, apply that training to solve these problems, right? So what I mean to say is that if you are training yourself well during the school years, it is much more easier for you to learn software, right? Coding. And it also depends on what kind of software programs or what kind of coding one would like to do. Some of them are easier, like they are the scripting languages which are easier, but there are object-oriented languages that may have a more complexity to it, like C++ or Java. So it depends on what you're doing. But eventually, I think if you have the flavor for it, it's easier. But if you don't have it, you can still learn. But it's not that it's that hard to pick up.
All right, thank you. So everything
Sure.
kind of plays into learning software engineering, like math in school and stuff.
It does. So it's also with reading, right? I mean, when teachers and parents tell kids to read, it's not just for the fun of reading. Fun of reading is there, but it also involves training your brain, coaching your brain, training your brain muscles to, exercising them. Because reading also helps you a lot in software engineering eventually, because you, like I said, right, you don't code every day. You have to read functional specifications, you have to write some documents, you have to create some documents where you have to see how your code works and what you need to document, what you're doing. So all of that involves those activities as well. So whatever you're doing, in if you're bent towards this kind of a role of a software engineer or computer science, and if you're taking English lang, something like that, uh, don't think that you're wasting your time, because a lot of it gets applied, because you have to write documents, you have to read documents, you have to learn. A lot of learning you do on the go by reading, because like at school, teachers teach you, parents help you, but at work there are people who mentor you, but most of the learning you do is by yourself. When you read, you learn by reading, because everybody has their job to do, so there's nobody who has time and bandwidth to teach and guide you all the time. Maybe the initial stages of your job somebody will mentor you, but even then you're expected to read, because you will be given a few documents that you need to learn and prepare and start applying. So it is very important. Even those subjects are important for you in these roles as well.
Yeah, thank you. And if you're comfortable sharing, how much do you earn every year in this field?
Not too comfortable with that, but but yeah, so let me give you a breakdown of it. So when you start off as a fresh grad, it depends on which company you join also and what role you do, but it is reasonably comfortable to say that, I have seen people start off from college with about 150K as base salary, approximately, right? On top of it, you do get more perks depending on which company you join. You do get bonuses, you do get stock options. So, it's very for the job that the options that we have out there. Software engineering is very well paying. And it also depends, like I mentioned, there are multiple roles in that field. It depends on what role you do. Some folks are really good. They are the ones who really build next generation technology, right? Not everybody is cut out to do that. Not everybody is, everybody's role is there to do that. But people who have the aptitude to do that, they end up getting much more. So companies really like to keep them. Companies pay them a lot of incentive to deliver on those products. So, bonuses can go really high, like, for them, the salary hikes can be very good. So perks are very, 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 very good in this role. So there is a lot of hard work, but there is a lot of good perks. It's not only just the money and compensation, uh, but it's also a lot of other things like the jobs are quite flexible. A lot of people, work remotely, or there is no fixed time to come and go. A lot of companies are flexible with that. And then it's companies have a lot of facilities on campus. It's very, very cool. I don't know if you all anybody has visited campuses like Google, Apple, Amazon, places like that. Very cool cafeterias, very, very cool gyms, good playing areas like table tennis, pool, things like that, playrooms, game rooms. It's very, very incentives. There's a lot of incentive, and a lot of companies provide free food, and things like that. So it is a lot of perks on these kind of jobs. So as you go forward, every year you get salary increases, and so on and so forth. If you're doing a good job, you get better retention, stock options as well. So you end up earning pretty well. So it's especially in a place like Bay Area, if you're need to survive, this kind of job gives you a good edge to do that.
Yeah, thank you. And that leading into the next question is, over the few more years, do you think computer science will become much more important? Considering we use AI a lot nowadays, will it be overpowered?
What was the last part of the question? Considering we use AI?
Considering that we use AI a lot nowadays, will it become overpowered?
No, it won't. So I think I tried to answer this earlier. So computer science job, I don't think the jobs are going to go down because of AI. So in the coming years as well, there is lot of requirement, lot of need. So especially if you learn well and work well, companies really look for that kind of people to work and stay with them. So AI is not going to take away jobs in a big way or reduce the jobs. Like I mentioned, it is still very, very new, and it is not having the desired effect as people think it is. So I won't say that it's a total hype, but the way it has been portrayed, it is not there yet. So it may take a long time for it to get where it could be in a position to reduce these jobs. But the jobs, like I said, right, you still need the man or person behind the machine to do the job, even though we have AI. Let me give you an example, right? Long time back, I think before you all were born, before computers, people used to do manual work, right? With ledgers and books and accounting, people used to have work used to still go on. uh, but when computers came in, people thought that all of that work will go away, but work didn't go away. Work only became faster, right? You still had to do more work in lesser amount of time. So this is something similar, right? So AI will help probably get some things done a little faster, but it won't take away jobs as such. In fact, to give you another example, when how did AI come in place, right? Some computer scientists actually built it, right? So when they built it, it needs to do it. You need to do more, enhancements. You need to add to it. There'll be a bigger roadmap down the line to add more. So there are more and more people needed to, build up on top of it or build up some more new things, right? So those kind of things will continue to happen. The innovation will continue to happen.
Yeah, and playing off the AI point, what do you think AI is most useful for?
So AI, for example, is quite useful in the sense that let me give you an example. Say when I ask AI, I we have some AI tools that we are currently starting to use. So if I ask AI, hey, AI or Cody, can you write this piece of code for me? So it will give you a piece of code, but then does it work? Does it not work? Is it good enough? You have to check it out, right? You have to enhance it. You have to add more to it or remove from it. So in the past couple days itself, actually, I was trying things out where it did not give me exactly what I needed, right? So I had to fix a few things. So what it helps me do is it'll probably help give me some pointers. It'll probably help doing the tedious work of me typing things out to myself. But when I pick it up, I still need to fix it to make it work, right? So the other thing is, say, I need to uh, write a test specification, right? There is a functional spec that I need to convert to a test specification. So I can feed it to AI and ask it to generate test cases. So it will do the best it can, but it is not exact. So I have to go in and modify each one of them to make it more accurate, right? So it helps write the document, it helps write the text, but I still have to go and fix it, right?
Yeah, it's
So
kind
things
of like
like
a
that.
base point, starting point.
Exactly, that's right.
And where are you in the military group picture?
Oh, so which one do you want to look at? This
You
one?
can just show all of them.
Okay, so is this familiar? So this is me in the Republic Day parade. This missile is called the Prithvi missile, and in this parade, I'm saluting the President of India. So this happens every 26th of January. This parade in New Delhi, in India, it's the capital of India, and this is where I am. The other picture, let me see where it is.
You can just point to it with your cursor.
Okay, let me give you a better feel for it. So this one, right? So if you see, I'm right here, the first row sitting here in the middle.
Yeah, all right. So the next question is, I know computer science can be a
Oh,
demanding
this is
field,
better
so
now. This,
oh,
yeah, this one actually
sorry.
expanded as well. Okay, yeah, go ahead. What was the next question?
Okay, the next question was, I know computer science can be a demanding field, so I was wondering how are the work hours being a computer scientist? Do you feel like you are able to maintain a good work-life balance?
That's a very good question. So in all of these roles, there is a lot of competition. So what happens is how companies make money is, they compete with each other, right? Most of the companies in the same domain have similar or competing products. So it is always a rush to finish your product and push it to the market, right? So there will always be a bit of pressure on delivering on your tasks. But then it is very important to maintain a balance as well. So management will always be in a rush to get job done. So if you are a manager, you will have the pressure of having delivering on the products. But if you're an engineer that you are actually doing the work, You will have pressure from your management to meet the deadlines, and often deadlines are, little bit unrealistic because there is always the need for people to get the job done. So one thing is very important is if you have a good relationship with your management, with your team, and you are quick enough to get the job done, you can have a good balance, especially if you create your boundaries. Uh, but otherwise, if you're really, detail oriented and you really want to get the work done very well, and you don't want to leave any gaps, because you can go ahead and do much more, you can go over and beyond and lose your balance, right? So this is, I think, if you ask me, one drawback in this industry is the tendency of people to work too much or work really hard. So that, of course, is something that one has to think about, and one has to set the boundaries. But there is also another downside, is that there most of the companies have offshore teams as well. So working with offshore teams will always spill over at night or early mornings, to be fair to both the teams. So it always ends up that you do have some work that you need to get done during the evening hours or night hours as well. But it is always a plus if you are able to join or find companies or roles where you finish your job, go home, and that's it. But to be honest, I think those are few. Probably they might still be companies that do that, or companies that work with other countries which are in a more compatible time zone. But you have to make that call, right? So in the end, I think if you are comfortable with it and you make a call, then it whatever works for you, right? That's what I would think. But then if your role requires you to do join meetings at night with, say, India team or something, and you end up not going, I mean, once or twice or thrice, it seems to be okay. But eventually your management may say that, hey, you need to be on the call, we need your help, and things like that. So those kind of things do play a role in this particular domain.
Yeah, I've seen that sometimes it can be hard to maintain a work-life balance in this field. So are
Right.
there any other questions before we start wrapping up? If there's not, do you have any tips or tricks to get into this field and get a good job in this field before we end the meeting?
Yeah, tips or tricks, I would say, if you know what you're bent towards, because there are two things, right? Like even in this slide, I can mention these are. Oh, actually, I did get to this slide. So let me come to this slide later. But but if you see the tools that we use, that is one thing. The expertise in those tools, right? So if you are really keen to get into this kind of a role, you may not have decided what to do exactly, but it would be good to do some logic questions, like logic things, like play some puzzles games that exercise your mind. Basically, your logic part of the brain, right, plays an important role. So those things will help you train your brain in this particular role. Other thing is the domain, right? Here I mentioned networking, where we talk about routing, switching, network security. This is where I worked most of my career in computer science. But there are multiple domains. There is finance, there is like banking and stuff. So you need software engineers there too, like all of your online banking, all of the databases that are work behind the scenes. There are multiple such domains, because those could be interesting to you as well, right? Because networking, switching, and routing itself is a very interesting domain. Like how do you log into the web? How does your connection work? Right? What is bandwidth? What are routers? What are switches? What is the data center? How when I log in to a website, where is that website? How is it working? So all of it is part of networking, right? So it is very interesting. So you get to learn a lot of that as well. So that's what, when I mentioned that uh, coding is part of it, but the domain knowledge and what you do also is a lot of that. It comes as a package, right? So in my role, I did networking, but some of you may be interested in finance. Some of you may be interested in bioinformatics. So I think I didn't mention here, but at some point in my career, when I finished my undergrad, I got a role in bioinformatics because some of my coursework involved bioinformatics as well. That's where I used Perl also, the programming language. And I did a course in biology for bioinformatics. The professor was really cool. I mean, he was from Stanford and Harvard. He did his bachelor's in Harvard and and graduate in Stanford. I learned a lot from him, and I got a role in the Institute of Genomic Research in the East Coast. I almost kind of went to that particular line, but that would have been a total difference, total sea change for me. There would have been no networking. It would have been more of biotech, right? So whatever interests you have, you can combine it with software engineering because there are a lot of such domains that work for you. So you can build your strength in those domains as well and target those kind of roles, right? So what really helps is if you have, like I think I didn't mention here, but in the 20 years of my experience in this industry, I've managed teams as well for good about 10 years, and I've interviewed a lot of engineers, hired a lot of them. So what I feel is, if you do cool stuff like even for fun, say you build a game or you build an app that does something, it has a lot of value, right? Especially if it is something for good. So when you are interviewing, you put it on your resume, you explain to it as a college grad just joining a new role. Uh,
Wait, I'm sorry to cut you off, but there's less than a minute left. So can you just quickly go to the other slide that you had less to show
Sure.
us?
Yeah. So interests and hobbies. Bobo, he's the one here in the picture. Snowball. So he takes up a lot of my spare time. And puzzles and games. I love playing Sudoku. That is one thing that exercises my mind a bit. Bridge is another game. It's a card game which also exercises your mind. The reason I mentioned here, tennis, pool, swimming, the gym. A lot of companies have good gyms. It does help if you're in this role. You have flexible timings, go to the gym mornings, evenings. There are some companies have free classes as well. So these are the kind of hobbies. Hey, sorry guys, we ran out of time. I think I took too long for each of the questions, but sorry about that. But it was really great, talking to you all and wonderful questions from you. So please do let me know and reach out. We'll share my email, and in case you have any more questions, we'll be happy to answer. Thank you and bye bye. Hey guys, this is Bobo Snowball. He's the champion of our life and stress buster, favorite pastime. So we spend a lot of time with this guy. So he's my son, and really enjoy spending time with him. Okay, guys, thank you.